What if you had to make a decision with infinite risk, but zero proof? Imagine standing at a crossroads. One path promises an infinitely amazing reward, but you have no concrete evidence it's real. The other path is familiar, safe, but offers nothing spectacular. Which do you choose? This isn't just a philosophical puzzle, it's a situation we all face in smaller ways every day. And a 17th century mathematician, Blaise Pascal, gave us a formula for it. Pascal was a genius, a polymath who dabbled in everything from physics to philosophy. He was fascinated by probability and decision-making under uncertainty. He came up with a concept that we now call expected value. It's a simple yet powerful idea. To figure out the best bet, you don't just look at what you could win. You multiply the value of the potential outcome by its probability. So a 50% chance of winning $100 has an expected value of $50. Simple, right? But what happens when one of the outcomes is infinite? This is the core of what's famously known as Pascal's wager. He applied this logic to the question of believing in God. Let's break it down his way. He said, let's assume we can't know for sure if God exists. So we have a bet to make. If you bet that God exists and you're right, you gain an infinite reward, eternal bliss. If you're wrong, what have you lost? A few worldly pleasures, maybe some time you spent in church, a finite, limited cost. Now let's look at the other side. If you bet that God does not exist and you're right, your gain is finite. You get to live your life exactly as you please without religious constraints. But if you're wrong, you face an infinite loss, eternal damnation. Pascal looked at this like a mathematician. The potential gain from believing is infinite, while the cost is finite. The potential loss from not believing is infinite, while the gain is finite. Even if the probability of God existing is tiny, say 0.00, when you multiply that tiny probability by an infinite reward, the expected value is still infinite. Therefore, Pascal argued, the only logical bet is to believe. It's the ultimate low-risk, high-reward strategy. Now, you don't have to be religious to appreciate the brilliance of this framework. Forget theology for a moment and let's apply this to our own modern lives. Think about a major life decision you're facing. Maybe it's quitting your stable but unfulfilling 9-to-5 job to start your own business. What's the wager? If you stay, you have a predictable, finite outcome. A steady paycheck, a comfortable but perhaps uninspired life. If you quit and start your own thing, there's a chance you could fail. The cost is finite. You might lose your savings, face some stress, maybe even have to go back to a similar job. But what if you succeed? What if you build something you're passionate about, achieve financial freedom, and create a life of purpose? The potential reward isn't literally infinite, but it can feel that way. It's a life-changing, transformative outcome. So, using Pascal's logic, you weigh the finite risk of failure against the potentially infinite reward of a dream fulfilled. When you look at it that way, taking the leap of faith doesn't seem so irrational, does it? It's a calculated bet on a massive potential upside. This applies to so many things. Asking someone out on a date. The cost of rejection is finite, a moment of embarrassment. The potential reward, finding the love of your life, a joy that can feel infinite. Moving to a new city. The cost is finite, the hassle of moving, the fear of the unknown, the reward, a new community, a better career, a richer life experience. The key takeaway from Pascal isn't about proving or disproving anything. It's a mental model for making courageous decisions in the face of deep uncertainty. It teaches us to not be paralyzed by the finite costs when an immeasurably valuable outcome is on the table, even if its probability seems small. It's a tool for choosing hope over fear and action over inaction. So the next time you're at a crossroads, facing a decision where the proof is scarce but the potential is huge, think like Pascal. Ask yourself, what is the finite cost I'm afraid of? And what is the infinite reward I'm hoping for? Sometimes, the most rational choice is to take the leap of faith. Thanks for watching.